Good morning, everybody. Calling to order a joint meeting of all the committees, Bridges and Tunnels, New York City Transit, the Long Island Railroad and Metro North committees, as well as the Capital Program Committee. These operating committees, and it is only the operating committees, will present their November updates collectively in what we're calling a super committee in order to accommodate a joint discussion of the November MTA proposed budget and financial plan later this afternoon. So we're going to do the committees all together, then we're going to break for lunch and some other board activities, and we'll return for the Finance Committee and the November plan presentation in the afternoon. As always, start out with a safety announcement, and then we'll hear from public speakers. Ruby?
Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen and adhere to the following instructions. If you witness an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and call 911 immediately. Please follow any audible instructions provided through the public address system or visually on screens in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell B down the hallway past the elevators. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please proceed to stairwell D or E for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member or emergency personnel. Thank you and have a safe day.
Good morning. Good morning. We have 38 members of the public register to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum, including speaking on topic. I would also like to remind our speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everybody to 2 minutes. In the event we exceed 60 minutes of public comment, we will transition to a separate live recording session. Recording comments will be distributed to the MTA board and posted on our board meetings webpage and YouTube channel. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker will be John Padula, followed by Jack Counters.
Check 1, 2. There we go. All right, folks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Padula, Supervisor from Educational Vision Services. Always a pleasure to bat leadoff on a happy Wednesday here at 2 Broadway. I had the pleasure last weekend of attending a National Federation of the Blind convention up in Albany and met and had great conversation with a lot of different folks and advocates around the state. And I was regaled with a plethora of different paratransit experiences from different municipalities. And, you know, I had to pause. And I literally was like, Lord, thank you. We are better. A little better. We are better. We're better than most. We're better than many. And a lot of work went into that. And I want to thank, again, everyone that's contributed to this fight, because it's been a fight. But we can do better. And we have to keep moving that needle. And the powers that be and the powers that will be in this municipality have to figure out the funding issue, because I know it's an issue. I don't envy the person that sits in charge of paratransit, because they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. The budget is growing because the service is better, but people are living longer, and people with disabilities should have the same rights, the same access to opportunity, and the same level of accessibility as anybody else. We should be able to come and go just like anyone else can, and paratransit is a layer to accessible transit in this city. A meaningful, usable, equitable paratransit needs to be funded. Demetrius's point last month was fantastic. We are trying to run a 21st century paratransit system. based on legislation, infrastructure, funding from last century. And we have to have the difficult conversations. I'm tired of hearing about what we can't do. I want to sit down and I want to reason. And I want to have meaningful, purposeful, substantive conversations about what we can do. Because there's a lot of smart folks in this room. And we can figure it out, and we can do this, and we can make a difference for our city's disabled. We can enable our disabled.
Please conclude your remarks.
Never mistake disability for an ability. My name is John Padula. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Jack Connors, followed by Omar Vera.
Good morning. Hello. Good morning. I'm Jack Connors, Research and Communications Associate at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. There are major changes coming to the railroads in the new year, from PCA priorities like expanded family fare and half fares to the AM peak for senior, disabled, and Medicare eligible riders, to the loss of the 10-trip ticket and 30-day unlimited. There's a lot to celebrate and some things to mourn. Either way, riders on all the MTA services need to be made aware well ahead of time of coming changes. We appreciate the renewed effort to educate riders about Omni and the free cards being handed out all across the city, as you also work to fix the initial issues that many riders faced. But more promotion and customer communication is needed. In addition to using the more than 10,000 screens across the MTA, we encourage you to deploy ambassadors and distribute pamphlets at high-traffic stations, as was done at a much larger scale during the Queens Bus Network redesign. Ambitious, early outreach will make sure Champaign is the only source of headaches come January 1st. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Omar Vera, followed by Anna Humphrey.
Good morning, MTA boards. We have managed to make a joint committees of various committees meetings today, because I guess since we couldn't meet Monday. But like I said, I have to say, first, we're being fully automated by the end of the year as we bid farewell to the MetroCard. But we just gotta make sure that Omni works like a charm for everyone. Because like I said, we don't want tap again to be the new please swipe again. You remember how awful please swipe again was so many times. Oh, you keep swiping at the turnstile. Omni's supposed to, like, for the most part, like, be rid of all that altogether. So keep up the good work. Also, thanks for finally making the move for the to purchase the new R2, like trying to figure out like what the new R268 subway car would look like, because eventually the R68s, as much as I love their interiors, the mirror walls, which I call silver walls, that run on the B, D, and QW, and sometimes on the G when there's a car shortage. We all know that the old cars have their day, and that we need to like fully modernize the system in order to create more CBCC modernization, because we are in the digital age. Last but not least, I would say thanks for modifying the F and M routes between Manhattan and Queens. The F is now back to its pre-2001 route. I remember as a little kid that it was the old route prior to the V being introduced. But like I said, I was skeptical, but then let's see how it plays out. All right. That said, happy holidays, happy New Year, and see you in January.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Anna Humphrey, followed by Lauren Shandeville. Okay, we'll revisit Anna. Our next speaker will be Lauren Shandeville, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Shandeville. I'm a senior researcher at Jobs to Move America, a nonprofit that works to ensure that public dollars are spent creating good jobs and strengthening local economies. At the MTA board meeting in September, I testified alongside community and labor leaders about poor working conditions at Kawasaki facilities in New York and Nebraska, where MTA subway cars are manufactured. My testimony was informed by the findings of a report my organization co-authored with the Climate Jobs Institute at Cornell University. Over the course of a year, we surveyed 180 Kawasaki workers who reported low pay, hazardous conditions, and unfair treatment attributed to race, gender, and a number of other protected categories. These workers took a tremendous risk sharing their experience with us, and we communicated their concerns directly with the MTA in the hopes that the agency would take steps to address them. We also sent a copy of the report to Chairman Lieber with a request to meet, but received no response. Then, at last month's board meeting, the MTA awarded Kawasaki a non-competitive subway car contract worth $1.5 billion. This item was not included in the board book that was posted before the meeting, nor was it mentioned during the Transit Committee meeting on October 27th. The decision to award such an enormous contract with so little notice, discussion, and competition is concerning enough on its own, but it's particularly disappointing in the wake of the serious issues advocates raised just 1 month prior. So I stand before you today with the same requests as last time. Work with us to implement policy solutions like the U.S. Employment Plan, which will encourage the creation of good jobs in future railcar contracts, and compel Kawasaki to negotiate a community benefits agreement with local groups in New York and Nebraska who demand dignified local jobs with family-sustaining wages. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Jason Anthony, followed by David Kupferberg.
Everybody, Jason Anthony, the Treasurer Bureau, this time from Amazon Independence Center DFA. Here in Staten Island. My apologies for being here at work because duty calls. I want to thank those disability advocates that were last week on the 420 board meeting. We wish that more disability advocates attend other tri-state area agency board meetings because the more the merrier. I want to address some advocates that are addressing the Kawasaki issue. We should be aware that other agencies, they manufacture their rolling stock from China, like, let's say, for instance, the MTA and others like LA Metro, etc. Let's think outside the box because the MTA considers manufacturing in America complying with federal standards. And I want to give kudos to the MTA because they are putting our system to a 21st century, providing accessibility not only to New York City Transit, but to the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. Because I don't like seeing advocates bashing our agency on not putting our standards to the 21st century. But last but not least, I want to give kudos to Daniel and all of his staff because of them, we are in the 21st century, not in the 20th century or over 10 years ago. So that's all for this month. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be David Kupferberg, followed by Celine Paul.
Good morning. My name is David Kupferberg, member, Passengers United. I noticed on the MTA website's Brooklyn Bus Network redesign webpage that most references to release the proposed final plan were removed last week. Thank you. What should be released is a revised draft plan, because your work will never be done. I stand in solidarity with the bus dispatchers and TWU Local 106. Not only should the bus command center be fully staffed, more dispatchers must be hired and radios must be reliable. Do not pull the dispatchers from the field. I also stand in solidarity with the subway conductors. Trains are usually too long for one lone operator, and platforms are not usually straight. There is a need for a second set of eyes in the subway. The status quo must be maintained. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Celine Paul, followed by Betsy Palm. We are going to follow up with Betsy Palm.
Good morning. My name is Betsy Plum. I'm Executive Director of the Riders Alliance. I am here with a group of rider leaders this morning, mostly because the scheduling change was not sufficiently clear, but we're very happy to be here to discuss our hopes for and our concerns about the transition to Omni. First, I want to acknowledge what is working. Moving to a modern digital payment system is the right step. Fare capping is a real improvement, especially for low-income riders who can finally access weekly savings one trip at a time. We're also eagerly awaiting all-door boarding on buses, which riders have been promised and truly need, and we're grateful for what I know is an enormous amount of work that MTA staff have put into this transition. At the same time, for the system to work, it has to work for everyone, and too many riders are still falling through the cracks. Hundreds have told us about taps not being accepted, transfers not being credited, or fare caps not applying as expected. These are issues the MTA must address to maintain the public's trust and to help riders experience the many benefits of Omni. And what riders are asking for, we think, is well within reach. A core value proposition of Omni is, of course, that we can use technology to make riding easier and more transparent. Riders need to see at the turnstile whether they were charged and how much. They need simple ways to check their fare history, whether they tap with a smartphone or with their Omni card. They need more education on how the system works, reliable access to working Omni machines, whether they're riding the subway or the bus, and better customer support when things do go wrong. I know that hearing problems during a major transition can feel frustrating or discouraging, but I ask you to please fully engage and listen to what riders are sharing today. If riders find it harder to pay or travel, or worst of all, if they risk enforcement consequences because Omni fails to register a paid fare, as we've heard from several Riders Alliance members on buses, then the whole promise of this transition is fundamentally undermined. Riders want and need Omni to succeed. Trust depends on fixing these gaps, and we're happy to be here sharing them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Nadja Bird, followed by Moyan Tom.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Nadja Bird. I am here to speak about the Omni system. The positives I like is the being able to get your fare, being able to redo your card online. The negatives are not being able to track how much you're spending on a regular basis. Also, not being able to know when you're transferring, if you were getting a transfer or being charged. With the Metro card, you were able to see that. You can't see that now. Also, an unlimited made life a lot easier. You knew when your date was coming up, you had to put more money on. Not having that ability really drives you crazy. It drives me crazy. I don't check my email all the time, so if I'm low, it's on my email, it's not on my phone. I will not get a text telling me until I get on the bus. Okay, then it'll bounce back. At that point, I'm stuck. Also, the rollout with the Metro cards, I remember talking to an MTA board member and going, why did you guys take so slow in doing this? And I remember him saying, if we had done it really quickly, we would have gotten smashed. We would have gotten, so you guys would have been complaining bouncing off the walls. And I remember saying, okay, all right, you got a point. This time, I think a lot of the bugs haven't been worked out so that this could be a smoother transition like the Metro card was. I might have complained in the beginning. I'm not complaining. I now see why Metro card was done the way it was. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Moyan Tom, followed by Lashane Lindsay.
Good morning, board members. I'm Moyan Tom, New York Policy Manager with Jobs to Move America. We work to ensure our public money creates family-sustaining jobs. I'm here today to express our concerns about the non-competitive award of the $1.5 billion subway contract to Kawasaki Railcar. In September, JMA joined our union partners to raise awareness about poor working conditions at Kawasaki in a report written with Cornell University. Over 8 years ago, JMA shared a simple solution to improve transparency and accountability when MTA awards these high-value contracts by integrating the U.S. employment plan into the R211 subway contract. When Kawasaki won this $4.5 billion contract, it committed to certain wages, benefits, and training in the USEP worksheets. We have heard from the MTA that sharing the USEP worksheet would suppress competition, that this information is commercially sensitive and are trade secrets. All we have to ask is, what do they have to hide? LA Metro and Chicago Transit Authority now use the USEP in their rolling stock contracts. These transit agencies have determined that this information can be shared with the public. For example, in the LA Metro contract with Hyundai Rotem, the company's USEP worksheet lists 9 manufacturing technicians, hourly wage rate, $43.50. Fringe benefits, $13. Total cost of labor, $470,000. So what is Kawasaki trying to hide? Are they hiding the high turnover of workers who leave due to an injury since they are not getting the training they need to work on dangerous equipment? Is it hiding the high number of workers on Medicaid because they are temporary workers and don't get any health care benefits? This is all speculation because we don't know. This job information is a critical part of the bid cost, so the public understands that the workers will be paid good wages and benefits with training to build the rail cars we rely on to safely commute throughout the city. So we call on you again to include the USEP in the upcoming rail car purchase and work with JMA to discuss viable solutions like community benefits agreements. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker will be Lashane Lindsay, followed by Jesse Figueroa.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lashane Lindsay. I'm the New York Organizing Manager with Jobs to Move America. We work to ensure that public money creates a quality, family-sustaining job. Since 2018, JMA has been calling on the MTA to release information about worker wages and benefits that their vendor, Kawasaki, provided in its multi-billion-dollar R211 railcar contract. This information was included in the company's U.S. employment plan, a policy tool that encourages manufacturers receiving public money to be high-road employers by detailing the number of jobs created, as well as wages, benefits, and related training. To this day, the MTA has refused to publicly disclose this part of the contract, claiming that the wages and benefits of workers building their subway cars are quote-unquote trade secrets. By hiding this information, the MTA is keeping the public in the dark about what Kawasaki committed to in its contract and how it's fulfilling or not fulfilling these commitments. LA Metro, which also uses the U.S. employment plan in its contracts, has determined that this information is disclosable and recently modified its contract with Hyundai Rotem to reflect this, stating that it considers wage information and labor information submitted to Metro pursuant to the terms of this contract, including any U.S. employment plan, to be releasable public information. And upon receipt of a public record a public records request for any wage information, LA Metro will immediately make such information available, regardless of any markings of trade secrets, confidential, or proprietary information by the contractor. This refers to the same U.S. employment plan worksheet information that JMA and its partners have asked the MTA to release since Kawasaki was awarded the contract in 2018. I urge the board to release Kawasaki's U.S. employment plan without redaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Jesse Figueroa, followed by Tanya Tavares.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, good morning, chairpersons and members of the committees. My name is Jesse Figueroa, District 1 Commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Department of New York, and a proud U.S. Army veteran, AKA the Transit Emperor. I am at the VA Extended Care Center in St. Albans, Queens. I am proud to continually serve as accessibility, transportation advocate, and liaison with the VA New York Harbor healthcare system. Public transit is more than transportation. It is access, equity, and dignity. For veterans, seniors, and riders with disabilities, accessibility is not a convenience, it is a necessity. I urge the MTA to accelerate elevator installations, ensure transparent timelines, and engage directly with riders who depend on these services. Accessibility is a civil right, and every New Yorker deserves safe, reliable, and dignified travel. Thank you for your commitment to serving all riders, and happy Thanksgiving.
Our next speaker will be Tanya Tavares, followed by Morvel Gibson.
Blessed rising to everyone. Thank you for having me to speak, addressing all members of the MTA. Thank you so much. I'm here in unison with Riders Alliance Group. I represent families like myself. I have 2 children. One of my children are here. My baby is sleeping. So it's a pleasure to be here. So I just wanted to address the main focus. There are great positives, benefits, and then there are some not. So with the negatives. So with the Omni card, I've realized over 41 years, I'm 41, I have been riding the MTA, and I really enjoy the benefits of the Metro card because you can adequately know your balance every time you use the card and you swipe. You can see, how your money is depleting with how many rides you're taking. Also, in addition to that, I'm representing 3 demographic areas. Lower East Side Manhattan, that is where I reside with my 2 children. I'm representing my mother, who is a city worker. She's been working for the city for 30 years, retired from the 911 area of the police department. And I'm also representing my church family. There are riders in my church family that take MTA. They have described the same having the same problems. So I think there's great benefit to this. I know we're in a digital world. I just say that as a business that you're running, over $250 million being spent in infrastructures and projects, awesome. I think the fact that we can keep the total of how much we're spending, how much we can see as writers, because there are different types of people with ailments. I think that there should be elevators as well for every station. I had to bring my child on the stroller by myself, 3 sets of steps, so that's very difficult. I think that there should be, equal on both sides. I understand your business, so please work with us. We work with you. We spend our
Please
hard-earned
conclude your
money
remarks.
for your business. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Morvel Gibson, followed by Rodney Dedius.
Good morning, MTA board members. My name is Morvel Gibson from Flatbush Avenue area. I use B41 bus route. My problem with the Omni card is there is no real-time balance displayed when user taps. My embarrassing moment was after several uses based on my card refill, I tapped twice and it did not show the go sign. Then I realized maybe the card is empty. While the bus operator waiting on me and passengers steering, luckily I had coins in my pocketbook enough for a fare. From then, I'm carrying with me quarters in case. The system needs to change and have real-time displayed. Users are at risk for summons, fines if they attempt to ride when OmniCard runs out to get to the nearest refill station, and MTA bus board the bus and check in or watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker would be Rodney Dedius, followed by Beth Childs.
Hi, good morning. Here with Riders Alliance. And a lot of the issues that I just want to reiterate is that about people being afraid that their money's being drained. A lot of articles around about this. And I feel like just a display on the screen would rectify a lot of these issues, just to ease people's concerns. And one thing that I do appreciate is living in a 2-fare zone. I am able to reload my MetroCard on the app. However, I feel like this represents a hardship for unbanked New Yorkers. There's around 700 or so thousand in New York, including a lot of people in my family. I think more accommodations need to be made for them in order for them to use transit, especially since the quarter option is going to be phased out. I just don't feel like it's helpful to remove payment options. But yeah, if they can just find a way to rectify that, and and then probably a display on the on those screens instead of it saying go. A lot of room there. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Beth Childs, followed by Shara Harry.
Good morning. My name is Beth Childs. I'm a senior citizen and a member of Riders Alliance, and I have concerns about the current OmniCard. I'm particularly concerned about the remaining balance on my card and whether or not I'm being charged properly when I use my reduced fare OmniCard. I also have problems with the card design and the way it's displayed on fare boxes and turnstiles. First of all, there is absolutely no way to tell how much money I have left on my card before I use it. I will not link my card to my checking account or to a credit card because I don't think linking is safe. We need a display after each Omni use showing how much money is left on the card. We did it with MetroCard. We can do it with Omni. Second, I believe that quite often I'm being charged again for what should be a free transfer. Whether or not I'm correct, this problem could be resolved, at least in my mind, if there were a display showing transfer or charge. This goes along with my first concern about displaying the remaining balance. Third, there is no visual difference between a regular OmniCard and a reduced fare OmniCard. This may seem simple, but I keep cards on hand for guests. I have to write with a Sharpie to say senior or regular so I'll know which one to use. I'm sure you want to improve bus and subway experience for all of us, and adopting these suggestions would certainly make it easier for everyone. Seniors like me are counting on you to get this right, to make sure we're not overcharged and that we have the transparency we need about how we're being charged going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Shara Harry, followed by Tina Lido-Guster.
Hello, good morning. My name is Shara Harry, and I'm with NYCT from Bronx Community College. I'm here today to express concern regarding the ongoing ventilation issues on the L train and within several of its stations. As a regular commuter, I have consistently experienced extremely poor air circulation, particularly during peak travel hours. The lack of proper ventilation not only creates uncomfortable travel conditions, but also raises health and safety concerns for passengers, such as myself, who may have asthma. In recent weeks, I've noticed that the air feels stagnant and humid on the trains and on platforms, such as the L trains going to and from Canarsie that runs through Brooklyn. This is especially concerning given the volume of passengers who rely on this line daily. Adequate ventilation is essential for maintaining air quality, reducing heat buildup, and ensuring the well-being for riders. I respectfully request the MTA investigate these ventilation problems and take the appropriate action to improve air circulation on the L line and all subway stations, especially when they're underground. I would appreciate receiving an update on any planned maintenance and improvements addressing this issue. Thank you so much for your time, and that is all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Tina Lido-Guster, followed by Stephen Rojas.
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to address the harmful noise generated by the 90-degree turn at the West 8th Street subway station. Measurements in similar environments routinely show noise levels exceeding 90 decibels, far above the 85 decibel threshold the New York City Health Department identifies as unsafe for sustained exposure. This is not a minor inconvenience, it's a documented health risk. Noise at this level affects far more than hearing. Chronic exposure to transportation noise is linked to elevated stress, disrupted sleep, higher blood pressure, increased cardiovascular risk, and for children, the consequences are even more serious. Research shows reduced reading comprehension, impaired memory, and diminished attention tied to long-term noise exposure like this. I have 2 children. This is a very heavy children populated neighborhood with a PS 100 school right nearby, and this is a serious issue. This week, we also lost Dr. Arlene Bronsaft, a psychologist who is working on this issue since the 70s, and she did a study at PS 98 in Manhattan. She compared reading scores of students in classrooms facing elevated tracks with those on the quieter side of the building, and students exposed to the train noise lagged 11 months behind in reading proficiency. Only after soundproofing and rubber padding was installed on the tracks did their scores improve. That was not a 90-degree turn like the one in this neighborhood. This is especially concerning because there are nearby schools where kids need to learn, focus, and so no classroom should have to deal with this. So upkeep measures have been going along, but they've not been good enough. I've been here for 15 years. This has not been improved by any of the measures. We need an enclosure. It's done in other places, and I would like the MTA to address this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Stephen Rojas, followed by Wendy Smith.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Stephen Rojas, and I live in Washington Heights. I would like to share my experience as a regular rider of the BX3 bus, which I rely on to commute to Bronx Community College. I want to strongly urge the MTA to consider assigning articulated buses, aka the longer buses, which are to the BX3 route. The reason why I think the MTA should consider using articulated buses on the BX3 because the bus is consistently overcrowded, especially during morning and afternoon peak hours. As a student who takes the BX3 almost daily, I can tell you firsthand that it is often packed from front to back, sometimes to the point where passengers are shoulder to shoulder with no room to move, let alone board comfortably. Sometimes people are left behind at stops because the bus is too full. It's not only that it's frustrating, it can also make students late for class, workers late for their jobs, and it affects everyone who depends on this service to stay on schedule. I truly believe that upgrading the BX3 to articulated buses would significantly improve the experience. The route clearly has a ridership volume to justify higher capacity vehicles, and the added space would make service more efficient, more comfortable, and more reliable for all riders. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Wendy Smith, followed by Anna Humphrey.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Wendy.
Yes, hi, I'm so sorry. My name is Wendy Smith, and I'm from the group Save the Ferry, which is in regard to the Newburgh Beacon ferry that had been running up until I think it was February of last year. Again, I speak in these MTA meetings because it's really important that the MTA understand that the ferry is a connection and lifeblood for everyday commuters in the mid-Hudson Valley. We are the farthest north ferry crossing that is working with the MTA. And being a West Side Hudson resident, it is extremely important as a connector to Metro North train to get into the city. We have people who live and have moved specifically to Newburgh because the ferry exists. They've factored that into their move from the city to move up north. Now, with the ferry not working, it has really thrown their schedules into disarray. I know that there is a bus that is currently working, and I also understand that the city or the MTA would like to have a bus working for the future. I will say that the ferry crossing is 7 to 10 minutes. When it comes to the bus, it can be anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. The Newburgh Beacon Bridge is in desperate need of repairs. We need redundancy in this system. The bus is also not accessible, ADA. It is extremely problematic for people who have ADA requirements. It stifles economic growth. It adds to everybody's budget who needs to work and get to work. Thank you, and I hope that you will reconsider this cutting of the ferry service. It is a lifeline to our communities.
Please conclude
in
your
Kalispell.
remarks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Anna Humphrey, followed by Mina Torres.
Good morning. My name is Anna Humphrey, and I'm the Transportation and Voting Community Organizer with the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York, Sydney. Access-a-Ride is an essential service for many disabled New Yorkers to participate in city life, but it often fails the people who rely on it most. Service is chronically late and driver conduct is frequently unprofessional or even unsafe. Riders are paying the price for a system that does not treat them with dignity or reliability. If the MTA is serious about improving paratransit, they need to create consistent channels to reach communities who have real feedback, not just surveys that go nowhere. On subway accessibility, we recognize that the MTA has made progress in installing new elevators, but accessibility isn't just about having more elevators, it's about keeping the ones we already have clean, functional, and reliable. Elevators that are constantly out of service or filthy are not usable for people with disabilities. The MTA must resolve the 8+ year elevator maintenance case once and for all and commit to permanent improvements. One of the major sticking points has been onboard announcements. We've consulted with the Transport Workers Union, and they've confirmed that it's entirely possible for train operators to broadcast information about upcoming stations where elevators are out of service. There's no technical or operational barrier to doing this. So we do not understand why MTA lawyers continue to use this as an excuse to avoid settling the case. Riders deserve real-time onboard announcements about elevator outages, along with clear directions to the nearest working accessible station. People shouldn't have to find out an elevator is broken only after getting off the train. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Manya Torres, followed by Miriam Fisher.
Good morning. My name is Mayana. I'm a born and raised New Yorker who has been taking public transit my whole life. Trains and buses have been vital to my ability to get to school, take my brother to school, reach my grandparents, get to work, and organize across the city. Public transit is a lifeline to folks across all boroughs and is at the center of how we show up to community and that we are held accountable to. I'm an organizer with Riders Alliance, and based on the 500 responses we have received about Omni and my own personal experience, we know that as of now, Omni is not providing the service it should. The goal of Omni was to create a more modern, efficient system. However, it has made more New Yorkers' lives harder and more complicated. When I put money on my Omni card using Tap and Go as promoted, why am I consistently overcharged and left with a negative balance? When seeking support from customer service, I am told the fault is due to user error, even though I am not alone in this issue. As issues has only been clarified recently as system error, which charges are seen as delayed or charged twice, with no ability to check the balance as you're tapping. Accountability and course correction are vital for the Omni team to regain the trust of everyday New Yorkers. We ask that Omni invest in a customer service so riders can accurately see their rider history and trips, addressing misinformation from the Omni chatbot, and ensure wait time for speaking with representatives are reasonable. Because of now, we don't know whether you are putting us first or our wallets first. I live in South Brooklyn, and when there are issues with my card, the singular machine in my community is not guaranteed to work. A neighborhood where we are already dealing with heightened ICE raids, they are putting vulnerable communities in greater risk to have contact with law enforcement. Who is Omni supposed to serve? And why aren't we prioritizing these issues now before the MetroCard sunsets? We need more functioning machines at every station, including and prioritizing neighborhoods of color. We are asking you to center care and respect for the New Yorkers who make the city rich in culture and
Please
history.
conclude your
You have the
remarks.
ability to create transit systems that work for the riders, and we need it today.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Miriam Fisher, followed by Estrella Juarez.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Miriam.
Okay. Very quickly about Omni, mine is not tap and go, tap a go, tap, tap, tap. I don't know when it registers. I can hold it and that seems to work better, but it's an issue for me too. I support what Anna Humphrey just described the problems with the elevator maintenance and the 8-year-old case, people being stranded. There are ways also of letting people know right away, including digitally on the signs in many of the subways now telling you when the next train is coming. It can tell you when the next elevator stop is out or not, so people don't get stranded. I've seen those already. I've seen them in Washington, D.C. It's something that the MTA should investigate. Port Authority, New York, New Jersey, both being accessible on the path lines. The 7 path stations in New Jersey are all accessible with elevators, but only 2 out of 6 path stops in New York are. Let's add elevators from path. Path is also adjacent to subways, which will be made eventually accessible. And 14th Street, 6th Avenue is now on the list for elevators. Let's prioritize that and make New York and New Jersey both accessible. Bus stops. The community is very pleased that bus stops will be eventually at all stations with seats, but there's still 80% of bus stops don't have shelters from bad weather, snow, heat. This is another area to follow up on.
Please conclude your remarks.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Miriam. Our next speaker will be Estrella Juarez, followed by Yifeng Zhang.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thanks. For me, personally, it's been a problem that sometimes the buses, or not sometimes, sorry, most of the time, the buses take up like 30 minutes to arrive. So I have had to wait in the cold and rain. And also, I had a previous experience with the train, too. It charged me twice, even though I just um tapped once. So I don't know. It's too much. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Yifeng Zhang, followed by Marco Marion.
Hello, my name is Yifeng. I go by Steven, and I'm a grad student at SVA. I'm here with Writers Alliance, and I'd like to share about my Omni experience. Omni has made my fare payment easier, but I still have several pain points. The first is unreliable bus transfer. I noticed that I will sometimes get charged when I transfer to a bus from the subway, even when it was definitely within the free transfer time window. Secondly, the website experience is incredibly half-baked. It never remembers my login. It still doesn't show my trip history after advertising it as a coming soon feature more than a year later. It will be a lot more seamless if there's an app for me to check my fare cap, recharge, and manage my cards. As a Queens resident, I really wish to have more out-of-system subway transfer points in the outer boroughs. This way, I will have more alternatives when the system interruption comes, or when I simply just need a better route option to go to places via the subway. The very obvious out-of-system transfer to implement are the Queensboro Plaza, Queens Plaza, and the G to the J and Z in Williamsburg. Lastly, as a commuter who depends on the Queens Boulevard line, I'd like to thank you personally for making the FMM swap happen. Thank you for listening to the people, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Marco Marion, followed by Michael Cohen.
Hey, good morning. My name is Marco Carrion, president of the Consortium for Worker Education.
As the workforce development arm of the New York City Central Labor Council, CWE joins our community and labor allies here today to voice their concern over the MTA's $1.5 billion non-competitive award of R268 subway contract to Kawasaki Railcard. In September, CWE stood with unions and community groups highlighting significant worker concerns outlined in a report released by our partners at Jobs to Move America and Cornell University. The report showed that Kawasaki relies on temporary labor, pays 16% below the industry average, and fosters a workplace culture where low morale, high turnover, and unfair treatment are the norm. Workers shared that Kawasaki instructs them not to talk about how much they earn, but the company asked the MTA that its wage and hiring data be kept from public view. The MTA has seemingly chosen to ignore these concerns and awarded another billion-dollar contract to Kawasaki without first addressing the issues raised in the report. In addition, as a member of the public, this non-competitive award seems to have been decided with minimal transparency. Only vendors and vigilant eyes would have noticed the contract advertised in September and heard about the award at the October MTA board meeting. Right now, working families across the country are struggling to cover basic expenses. One major solution to this affordability crisis is the creation of dignified career ladder jobs with consistent training and good wages. CWE's many workforce development programs across the city train workers for precisely those kind of jobs. These programs demonstrate the partnerships between communities, employers, and public agencies can be win-win for all parties, but we need to make sure these employers are high road employers. To ensure all vendors are held to strong labor standards, we call on the MTA to include the U.S. employment plan in its upcoming purchase of 2,000 rail cards, outline the current capital plan. In addition, as one of the main customers, Kawasaki Rail Card, the MTA should
Please
encourage
conclude
the
your
company
remarks.
to work with community and labor groups on a community benefit agreement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Michael Cohen, followed by Christopher Greif.
Cohen, and I have some questions about the Penn Station Access Project. I know that currently I was recently reading the news about the Penn Station Access Project, and it seems that the project, there's a threat of reduced LIRR capacity at Penn Station unless something gets done about that with the arrangements of Amtrak and everything. But I also wonder why a new route has to be connected into Penn Station, because at 125th Street in Harlem, there is a place where Amtrak and Metro North both share the tracks. And I was wondering, why is it not possible to use the Park Avenue tunnels to access Penn Station from there and provide access directly from 125th Street to Penn Station for Metro North, with maybe having to add new electrification into the Penn Station tunnels. And so my question is there, like, if that could improve if that could shorten the duration of the project and provide a way to complete the project in less time, then why not utilize the existing tracks to provide access to Penn Station?
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Christopher Greif.
Good morning. I'm Christopher D. Greif, and I just want to also wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. One thing I'm going to, as an advocate for people with disabilities in the community, a little sad, and I'm going to say this, and it's not MTA's fault, but I'm going to mention to Cubit that an Omni and a phone, not everyone has a cell phone. Not everyone can grab a phone sometimes. And a lot of people saying, why do I need to use a train ticket on my phone if I have an Omni reduced fare card that makes it easier for me to, even around my neck, and just go, boop, I'm on the train. Boop, I'm on the bus. We're concerned because the 10-day pass that gives people with disabilities like to go sometimes Friday nights or Saturday nights to do some recreation. Some of them actually bowl, like a Special Olympic athletes. And there are some people like to go out just to, go somewhere out there. And there are times they might have an event to go there. I mean, every 10 of those tickets. And it does help. But a ticket or a phone is not easy for them. But an Omni card is easier because they can tap, and it's easier. Not everyone can hold a phone. Maybe I could, but not everyone wants to trust the phone because someone can steal the phone. An Omni reduced fuel card can be replaced faster and safer. Also, since we're all talking about holiday season, this is for the NYPD and MTA police. We need to make sure our safety is matter to everyone because cold season is coming in, and we want to make sure that seniors and people with disabilities are getting on and off the train safely, especially the holiday train that is coming up in the month of December. Hope to see a lot of NYPD and MTA police because the kids love taking pictures of them to be superheroes because they think you guys are superheroes. Hey, you got to have some good things because the little kids love looking at the train and celebrate the holidays and keeps them moving. And yes, to remind them to pay their fare. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Salim Pual. Okay. We have reached the allotted time for this public comment session. At this time, we ask the remaining registered speakers to stand by as we transition to a separate live recording session. If you're a remote speaker participating on Zoom, please stand by and wait for further instructions from the moderator. Public speakers in the room, please join us in conference room 4. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you, Ruby, and thank you to the members of the public who spoke and shared your issues and concerns and perspectives. On to business. General Counsel Paige Graves, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum, and I'll note that 3 of our board members are attending remotely. That's Sammy Chu, Blanca Lopez, and Lisa Soren.
Okay. All right, we're going to go through agency president reports, and we'll start with Bridges and Tunnels. Kathy, would you share your update, please?
Thanks, Jano. I'm going to punt to Charlie because my voice is, I guess, working remotely today. Okay. Good morning, Chair, and good morning, Board. First, I will note that the B&T's proposed work plan for 2026 is presented annually in November for review and was included in the committee materials. I submit the plan for the B&T Committee's review and pending any changes, approval in December. Let's turn to enforcement updates. Targeted joint enforcement operations have yielded more than 1,400 arrests, 63,000 summonses, and 5,800 vehicles towed. Those interdicted are responsible for $64 million owed collectively to all member agencies. I'm also pleased to welcome 2 partner agencies to the task force, Orange County Sheriff's Office and the Town of Woodbury Police. Our strengthened enforcement against illegally tinted vehicles, the windows continue to gain momentum. Tinted windows pose risks to law enforcement during traffic stops, concealing vehicle occupants and content. Year to date, we have doubled our enforcement efforts compared to previous years. In recent focused initiatives, we warn drivers via our roadway variable message signs, as you see on the screen. In October alone, we issued 260 tinted summonses. There's been attention recently on serial toll evaders and the consequences of ignoring dozens or even hundreds of tolls, which some evidently find confusing. I want to bring clarity. First, pay your tolls. That's the simplest and easiest way to avoid fees and other issues. What you're seeing here is a screenshot, unedited, directly from the EasyPass New York Service Center website, clearly depicting the toll bill escalation process. Let's zoom in. If you drive across bridges, through tunnels, or enter the congested relief zone without paying tolls, the escalation to toll violator status is as certain as it is transparent. And as shown here, it's straightforward. Again, people should pay their tolls, and they should know that if they evade hundreds of them and then say that they didn't see the notices, not only does that challenge common sense, but we will do what's on this webpage, starting with fees, violations, and then suspend registrations. To be clear, we would prefer never to charge a late fee, because drivers pay tolls in the first place. We can't have this happen. It is for the vast majority of those who follow the rules that we are here to advocate for. We can't have them being played for suckers by few that thought that they could get away with a few free rides. And make no mistake, we will stand up for New Yorkers who expect everyone to pay a fair share for transportation. Moving on to agency milestones, November 15th marked the 85th year since the opening of the Queens Midtown Tunnel in 1940. Designed by renowned engineer Ole Singstad, construction took 2,500 sandhogs working their way through tons of solid rock. President Franklin Roosevelt rolled the first automobile through the tunnel under the East River. Visitors to Grand Central Terminal's Vanderbilt Passage may view an exhibit curated by our Special Archives team. Additional thanks to our maintenance crew for the installation and to our Metro North colleagues for logistical support. Finally, the 54th running of the New York City Marathon kicked off on Sunday, November 2nd, from its traditional start line at the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Nearly 60,000 runners, along with scores of event organizers and officials, convened for the race. Our employees' collective efforts allowed for a safely executed event start that showcased our bridge to a worldwide audience, and we thank them. Finally, there are no procurements for this month, and this concludes B&T's report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or Mr. Zuckerman, followed by Mr. Mack, followed by Ms. Nahals?
Thank you, sir. I just want to extend a thanks to Kathy and her team at the marathon. And this is not a humble brag, because if you saw my time in the marathon, you would definitely know I'm not bragging. But I do want to thank Kathy. It was extraordinary. I got the privilege of being on that bridge a little bit on that Sunday morning, and to have 60,000 runners and tens of thousands of support workers, and it going out without a hitch, just incredibly well organized. Of course, to hear the national anthem sung about 7 or 8 times in a row while I waited for my start time is a lot of patriotism in one shot. But it was a beautiful event and an unbelievable day, and the professionalism screamed out all over the place. So congratulations on a job well done.
Okay. How much revenue did we lose on that day, Kathy? Your voice prevents you from answering, I understand. Mr. Mack.
Good. Kathy, feel good. I was at the opening of the bridge. Yeah.
Are we talking about the Midtown Tunnel, Mr. Mack?
No.
The bridge, okay.
At the bridge.
Okay.
At that time, I was the Deputy Police Commissioner of Long Beach. And the Speaker of the Assembly invited me. But let me say this, I'm on the road all the time, because different operations. You've done very well, but it still lacks. Number one, it's a joke with the tinting, okay? 200, 300. I would say out of 10 cars, 3 are blacked out. This is a major danger. God forbid one of the psychos have an explosive and they use it. Anything's possible. And of course, their car is blacked out. You can't see who they are or what they are. As far as the license plates, they're all over. I'm in East Hampton. I'm in Nassau every day and night. But Suffolk County Police Department has a video that plays on Channel 12 showing their enforcement of these plates. And it's not even a toll revenue, it's just a violation. Let's not forget the price of the toll versus the price of the subway. Money is there. Even today, when I came in, the traffic was beyond belief. Well, raining. But even today, the cars blacked out, plates. None of our members of the MTA tunnel and bridge, they were there. They've been there. This has been a problem. We addressed it when I was vice chairman, and we corrected it. Jano, we got to address it before, God forbid, a tragedy happens. Hopefully not.
Okay. Ms. Mahalsis.
Good morning. Kathy, sorry that I'm going to ask you a question, but maybe you can, anyway. A couple of weeks ago, some of the Easy Pass, I guess clients got a letter saying that they were overbilled. And I was just wondering where we are with fixing that and how the credits were given back.
I'll have to get you a separate answer offline, but we are working with our vendor who has overcharged some customers due to the back office upgrade in April. And we're addressing all the issues that are out there.
So you'll get back to me?
I will.
All right, thank you. Feel better.
Thank you.
Mr. Bringerman.
Yes, just curious, did you have a major operation on the Throgs Neck Bridge? I guess it was maybe Monday? Sunday?
Sunday, yes.
Okay, could you go into details? I mean, social media was blowing up about that. Just stay the hell off the Throgs Neck Bridge. You know, it was just, I mean, they made a big deal of it, and I said, well, I got to find out about this when I go to the meeting.
So certainly, Sunday we did have a joint operation, multi-agency operation for persistent toll violators and go stops, what we call here. So that was on Sunday. We're not off weekends. We work Monday through Sunday. So, and so do the violators. So we're out there at different hours, different times, depending on patterns and trends.
Okay, well, you certainly got everybody's attention, so.
Good.
That's the idea. Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Okay. We'll move on to the railroad reports, starting with Rob Free, followed by Justin Vonishek. Rob.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Ridership continued to remain strong. There we go. Ridership continued to remain strong for the month of October as we continued to set records. For the month of October, total ridership was 7.44 million customers. That's a post-pandemic record, and that's not a month without the Ryder Cup. That also represents 92% of October 2019 ridership. Year-to-date, total ridership over 2024 is about 9.2% higher. Monthly ticket ridership October compared to last October was up 9.9%, and also up 10.4% over September. And the reason I mention that because that was a month where it was up 23% over the prior month. You know, we talk a lot about non-commutation ridership, discretionary ridership increasing. We gave a presentation last month on all the events that we support. But regular commutation ridership is coming back as well. To illustrate this, for the month of October, there were 3.1 million commutation riders on the Long Island Railroad. That's a post-pandemic record. So that shows that people are coming back, going back to the office. And finally, for Grand Central Madison, we also set a ridership record with 1,785,659 riders. So that's a record since the opening of Grand Central Madison. Wrong way, sorry. For performance, remained strong for the month of October. Total on-time performance was 96.3%. Outside of COVID years, that's our best October in recorded history. And year-to-date, we're also at 96.3%. All other performance metrics can be found in the book. For safety, For the 12-month period ending September, we realized a 24% reduction in customer injuries and a 15% reduction in employee injuries. So as you can see by those numbers, safety is a top priority at the Long Island Railroad. And one of our initiatives to keep our system safe is to collaborate with the industry. So on October 23rd, the Long Island Railroad hosted our annual On-Track Safety Summit, welcoming representatives from Metro-North, New Jersey Transit, PATH, Keolis, Amtrak, and MBTA to discuss and align regional railroads on shared safety challenges, exchange best practices, and develop joint strategies to enhance roadway worker safety. I want to thank our corporate safety team for facilitating this important forum, and I want to personally thank all of the attending railroads for coming and for their strong commitment to safe operations. For this Thanksgiving, we'll be providing some extra service to support the parade. In the morning, there'll be 6 extra AM trains going into the city for the beginning of the parade, and post-parade, there'll be 9 extra trains for going home, and there'll also be additional trains waiting just in case they're needed. But I also remind people to please check the website and the Train Time app for the most up-to-date schedule information. We constantly monitor ridership data across our system to keep up with demand and to make sure we provide customers with as comfortable a ride as possible. As a result of this analysis, we found a need to add service on the Ronkonkoma branch during the pre-PM peak, so I'm happy to announce that we are now operating an additional train departing Penn Station at 3:20 p.m. to Ronkonkoma. And it's really hard to believe with all the service that we provide, where we continue to do this analysis and provide additional service for our customers. So great job to our service planning and operations team for making this happen. The past couple of years have been a time of great growth when it comes to expanding the list of ADA accessible stations at the Long Island Railroad. Just last year, I believe it was 4 stations that we made ADA accessible, and that's on the Babylon branch alone. So we moved towards our system to become 100% accessible. On November 13th, we cut the ribbon on the brand new St. Albans station, the latest in our system to become fully accessible. The 18-month project has brought St. Albans Station to the 21st century with a modern look and many new station amenities. Astonishingly, over 90% of our stations are currently ADA accessible, and by the end of this capital program, 95% of our stations will be ADA accessible. But we're also not working only on adding new stations to become accessible. We're working tirelessly to ensure that the stations that are currently accessible remain accessible, as we just replaced elevators at Auburndale and Valley Stream stations. I want to thank our partners at C&D, the project and construction teams, and our incredible employees for all their amazing work. And that concludes my remarks, Chairman, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions at this time or comments? Mr. O'Donnell?
Thank you. So the article yesterday in Newsday, can you give us an update? Is there any new information on the corruption case?
Well, I certainly think Newsday is getting a lot of mileage out of the story, but we are doing
so.
We're doing everything we can, as we've communicated before, to address the situation, holding the employees accountable. And you heard the IG himself recognize the actions that we have taken to address the situation. If you saw the paper the day before, we fired an employee for their actions involved in this, and we continue to move through the disciplinary process. There is a process that we're going through to hold those accountable that participated in this. We talked about all the many steps that we've taken to mitigate, to try and eliminate the situation going forward.
So you fired one person so far?
Well, as I said, there's a discipline process that you have to go through. That we're working through that.
That was in the paper 2 days ago, that you fired one person and they named that person in the newspaper. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, I'm tired of just reading about this in the newspaper secondhand. So I would like the Inspector General to come in and brief the entire board on the entire investigation. This is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that was stolen right under our noses, and it's similar to a case I had up in Orange County with the IDA, where subjects stole $2.3 million, paid back $1 million, and nobody went to jail, right? This particular case, many of them, and they're outlined in the newspaper article yesterday, I think they outlined 5 of the 36 as being among the top 10 overtime workers. Those people will continue to reap the benefits of their behavior with their pensions. And to me, that is unconscionable. So I'd like the Inspector General to come in and brief us. Thank you.
Makes a lot of sense. We'll arrange a briefing. The IG may want it to be in camera, but we'll address whatever process he wants, and we'll give you that briefing. Hold on, wait to be recognized. Mr. Mack.
Can that be an executive session?
I
Yeah,
think
we
that's-
don't want to
that's-
do it in public.
I think that's what I just said, yeah. Other questions, comments? Okay. Just, for clarity's sake, in fairness, we're going to have that briefing, and I just want to say, when Rob says that the disciplinary process, that means that others may follow, but the disciplinary process has to be gone through before the agency can take an action like that on the one person that you mentioned, Mr. O'Donnell. So I just don't want to leave anybody with the impression that final decision has been made with respect to some of the other characters who are in this process, right?
No, I appreciate that, but again, one person's been fired.
Yeah.
I think 6 are having hearings.
Yeah.
So that leaves 29.
Okay. We will
Already
get into it.
skated.
I think Rob wants to be.
Out of that total number, 13 employees are no longer with the railroad. Some of them left before the report was even issued. So before we got to implement disciplinary actions, they left the railroad before we could implement them. So whether we were able to charge them and fire them, or they left on their own will, they knew it was time to go because they knew they were facing termination.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I'd also appreciate being briefed on it and not having to read all this stuff in the paper.
Okay. Well, you're gonna get that briefing. Okay. Onward to Metro North, Mr. Vonacek.
All right, thank you, Chair. Good morning, members of the board. I'm happy to report that Metro North's reliability and ridership remain strong. October's on-time performance was 98.3%, and year-to-date is at 97.9%. Credit goes to our dedicated teams and innovative tools like the laser train, which keeps the railheads free of slippery leaf oil and service dependable through the fall season. In October, Metro North served nearly 6.8 million customers, a 3.7 increase from last year and 86.8% of our pre-pandemic ridership. And weekday ridership reached a new post-pandemic high, averaging 241,000 riders. Weekend ridership also remained strong, surpassing 2019 levels at 102.5%, helped by great weather and a beautiful fall season. November is continuing the upward trend, with ridership through November 9th at 85.4% of our recovery overall. And the baseball season was also strong this year, with more than 850,000 trips to Yankee Stadium, including 3 record-breaking games averaging nearly 14,000 riders per game, representing about 16% of the total stadium attendance. And one of those was our highest ridership ever on record. And looking ahead to Thanksgiving, we'll provide early getaway service the day before Thanksgiving, a special holiday schedule on Thanksgiving Day, and our shopper special trains will start on November 28th. For the 12-month period ending September 2025, Metro North's reportable customer injury rate was 1.54 per 1 million customers, and the employee lost time injury rate was 1.68, both essentially flat from the previous year. And with the holiday season quickly approaching, we are in full swing with our community outreach program TRACS, reminding customers to travel safely and always watch the gap. And on Veterans Day, we proudly honored our nation's heroes, including the nearly 450 veterans in our own Metro North family, with our annual wreath-hanging ceremony at Grand Central Terminal. The ceremony featured the MTA Police Department Pipes and Drums Band and Officer James Volpe singing both our national anthem and God Bless America. New this year, we hosted the Aviation High School Color Guard drill team, established in 1934 at the Manhattan School of Aviation Trades. This student-led corps carries forward a proud tradition, passing down ceremonial knowledge and precision from generation to generation. Their presentation was crisp and inspirational, and it was an honor to have them join us. Thank you to everyone's contributions in making this such a wonderful event for our veterans. We also unveiled Engine 216, our 8th Heritage Series locomotive, specially designed by a committee of 12 Metro-North veterans, along with Emily Moser, to honor all branches of the U.S. Armed Services. This locomotive, with its embroidered style insignia and branch patches, is a visible symbol of our gratitude to veterans across the railroad and beyond. We unveiled it at North White Plains on Monday, November 10th, and it was brought down to Grand Central for Veterans Day for all to enjoy. Following its visit to GCT, it made a stop at all of our facilities across the territory so it can be enjoyed by our veterans before returning to revenue service today. I want to express my gratitude to the creative, hardworking men and women who made this locomotive's design and implementation possible. And Grand Central is once again at the heart of New York's holiday magic. The Grand Central Holiday Fair is open in Vanderbilt Hall daily except Thanksgiving Day through Christmas Eve, supporting small businesses and local artisans with handcrafted gifts and unique finds. You can surely check everything off your holiday gift list with a stroll through the holiday fair. Visitors can also enjoy the New York Transit Museum's Holiday Train Show, always a hit with kids and kids at heart. And there's our world-class dining and shopping, all of it making Grand Central a must-visit destination for holiday cheer. And out on our railroad, following last year's success with the first Holiday Lights train, we're doubling down the holiday fun this year with 2 Holiday Lights trains that will brighten the season. We'll have both an electric train and a diesel haul train that will allow us to visit all territories throughout the Metro-North system. This will start the day after Thanksgiving and will run through New Year's Day. We'll keep everyone posted on social media, so if they want to chase the train and take pictures, they'll be more than welcome. And as winter approaches, Metro-North is ready for whatever winter comes our way. Our winter preparedness plan ensures safety and reliability through proactive planning and precision execution with more than 375 pieces of snow clearing equipment ready to go. Operations teams have been working diligently, inspecting and fortifying tracks, switches, signals, and rail cars, ensuring smooth, safe travel operations all season long. As always, this planning will provide us the necessary tools to ensure we'll keep trains moving and customers safe no matter the conditions. Thank you. That concludes the report.
Any questions? Mr. Zuckerman.
I actually have a comment, not a question. So we're going to talk in a little bit about financial matters. There's a lot of weighty issues happening at the national level and in the city. I do want to bring up something, though, with the stability that Metro-North has had under your leadership, Justin. I think there's a topic I want to raise that is worthy of maybe our 2026 examination. The number one question I get from riders who know I'm on the MTA board is not the price. It's not on-time performance. You've solved that problem over a long time. It's not increased service. The number one thing I'm asked is Wi-Fi. I'm not being funny. The number one thing I get asked is about internet access. I live on the Hudson River. I take the Hudson line. You can't do a phone call on the Hudson line because it drops over and over again. I hear the same thing from those in Harlem and New Haven. We have, obviously, unlike Long Island, we have a very hilly or at least heterogeneous terrain. And it is something I don't expect us to retrofit all our cars. I tell people what the example I have when I ride Amtrak to Washington. They have Wi-Fi on the train, but what's the difference? It's still using the radio networks, and it cuts in and out all the time as well. So I'm going to ask us to think about how we can work with our partners in Verizon and AT&T and all the third parties that own towers up and down our service territory to figure out what we can do to improve the quality of the phone service up and down. Because I'm telling you, I know it sounds like I'm being petty and minor, but I am telling you, I am not making this up after all the time I've been on this board. This is the number one issue I get asked. It's a good issue to be asked, better than hearing about safety like in 2013 or price or service. But it is, for whatever reason, a high-class problem that our riders are expressing to me. We clearly are solving it here in New York City because over time we're going to have Wi-Fi in every one of our tunnels. That's amazing. But if you think about the Metro-North customer, and I'll leave it to my friends on the island to tell me about the situation out there, but it's something that matters to the riders that I represent. Thank you.
Justin, do you want to comment?
Yeah, it's something we're definitely taking a look at. We have made a lot of improvements to the mobile service across the territory. So that's been a focus of ours, but we are looking at Wi-Fi and seeing where there's opportunities because, as you mentioned, even with the Amtrak Wi-Fi, it's spotty, right? So if you're going to roll something out, we want it to work. So definitely understand.
Any other comments or questions? I have a question. How is the process proceeding with respect to the governor's plan for Metro North to go to Albany?
It's going very well. We're set to start in early spring. The conversations continue. The team's been working diligently day after day to plan everything. We've already begun training our crews on the rules. We're working on getting them up on the territory, so everything's moving as planned, and we're on schedule to start early spring.
On schedule?
On schedule.
Okay. All right, very good. Anybody else? Thank you. So we'll now hear from Mr. Critchlow about New York City Transit. Demetrius.
Thanks, John. This is another great month across all modes of transit. We'll ensure to keep the momentum going as we close up the year. First, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, new rolling stock. We roll out our newest trains and train cars and buses to great fanfare, but the work to introduce more rolling stock into the system doesn't end when the media cameras go away. It's an ongoing process. Since we proudly introduced the first two new R211 train sets on the A line back in March of 2023, it's hard to recognize it was back in March of 23 already. We rolled out hundreds of new R211s across the system. When you include not only the cars that are being used for service, but also the spares that we use to keep the cars in service, over 700 cars we have now in our system. So if you've been catching new trains lately while you're riding on our system, you are not the most fortunate customer that rides our system. It's just because we're rolling out more cars, and we really do have a lot more cars than we had in the system before. There are currently over 250 R211s in service on the A, more than 100 on the C, more than 100 on the B, which was particularly exciting as it means that the Bronx is now enjoying the newest cars, and 70 R211s on the G. And don't forget, we celebrated converting the entire Staten Island Railway fleet to R211Ss back in September. On the buses side, we've introduced 115 into service this year, including 81 to Staten Island. The latest came to the Bronx this month, as you'll see in the photo. Yeah, it's a beautiful new articulated bus. Pretty exciting. So I look forward to receiving 65 more new buses by the end of the year. And for paratransit, next year we'll begin receiving our next order of vans. Last year we introduced the first electric paratransit vehicle to the system. That pilot since has expanded to 10 vehicles as we continue to assess how the vehicles are working in our operations. We've also made some exciting service updates over the past month. On November 3rd, we added additional weekday service on the A and L lines, which means more frequent service and reduced wait times for 100,000 weekday riders. This is due to the great work of the Subways and Operations Planning team, who identified a way to improve service and follow through and make sure it became a reality for workers. So really kudos to the team for continuing to look at how we improved service with our existing resources. As a point of information, I wanted to make sure the committee was aware that starting next year, so this January, New York City Transit will join the rest of the MTA in operating a Saturday schedule for Martin Luther King Day. We previously run weekday schedules, but have found that Saturday schedules better fits our recent ridership patterns. And lastly, I wanted to remind everyone that the FM swap takes effect soon, which is December 8th. You all received a detailed presentation on this back in September, but I wanted to mention it again as it's a big service improvement that is the first permanent change in our network since the 2nd Avenue subway opening in 2017. Outreach to prepare customers for this change is already underway and will continue to ramp up as we get closer to December 8th. You may have already seen signage posted in our stations or watched a video on social media explaining the swap, and our dedicated website has been live with more information for riders. As we get closer to implementation, we'll make an in-station and onboard train announcements, hand out brochures to customers, and post information on our vast digital screen network. We're also going to send customer ambassadors out to affected stations to ensure customers are getting where they need to go and on time. I am so looking forward to making this change that will provide greater reliability for 1.2 million riders daily on the E, F, M, and R lines. This winter season brings more than just bad weather for New York City. We must be prepared to ensure we're running reliable and efficient and safe service for both New Yorkers and tourists from around the world who come to partake in the iconic New York holiday season, even in the face of extreme cold and snow. Put another way, we're entering the season of big events. Whether it's a big crowd or a big storm, we will be ready. To prepare for major events like the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Rockefeller tree lighting, and New Year's Eve at Times Square, transit partakes in a multitude of prep operations. This includes sending mobile wash crews to nearby stations like Rock Center and Times Square to ensure it's as clean as it can be for customers prior to those events. Additional personnel are assigned to high traffic stations to assist with crowd controls, wayfinding, fare purchases, and more. On the bus side, road operations remains in close contact with our city partners to mitigate both planned and spontaneous road closures. Performance, weekday subway on-time performance in October was at 83.4%, down 1.6 points from September, but up 0.7% year over year, marking the best non-COVID October on-time performance on record. Weekend on-time performance held steady at 85.9%, just a half a percentage point lower than September. The primary driver of October's weekday on-time performance decline was a series of atypical vandalism incidents, including 3 committed by the same individual who, thanks to our partners in NYPD, has been arrested. These events are responsible for nearly 40% of that drop in on-time performance. However, reduced internal delays caused improved on-time performance by 4 to 5 percentage points on the 2 and 3 lines, and decrease in construction-related delays led to stronger performance on the 4 line. You'll remember the incredible amount of rain that came down to the city on October 30th. This caused temporary disruptions, but a rapid crew response minimized impacts thanks to the emergency responders and the amount of work that we put into preparing for these type of events, getting people or having people in place with the equipment that they need to be able to respond to these incidents. Subways pumped over 300,000 gallons of water out of the system. That is on top of our 13 million gallons that we pump out every day. That just gives context to how much work is going on in the system to make sure that we keep maintaining the service. For the bus side, bus metrics for October showed improvement across all key metrics compared to both September of 25 and October of 24, with the 12-month average continuing to trend upward. Service delivered reached 94.5%, up 0.8 percentage points from the previous month and 1.9 points year over year. Customer journey time rose to 67.5%, marking 2.6 points increase month over month and 2.3 percentage points year over year, driven by improvements in additional bus time and added travel time. Average bus speeds improved by 1.2% compared to last month and 2.5% from October of 2024, reaching 8.2 miles per hour. These results reflect progress in service delivery and reliability supported by ongoing strategies such as the bus network redesign, enhanced service management, and the expansion of our ACE program. October KPIs were strong for paratransit as well, with on-time performance up on both weekdays and weekends. I'm happy to report that nearly 96% of weekday trips made the 30-minute on-time performance threshold, and 90% of the trips were picked up within 20 minutes of the promised time, which is our internal stringent goal, 90%. We also continue to see increased adoption of the My AAR app for booking and tracking trips, with 23% of trips now being booked by app, not only helping our customers have more accessible and seamless booking options, but ensuring our call center reps can be available for those who do call for their travel needs. However, the real story on paratransit for October was ridership. This was the first month ever. I love saying the first month ever in which paratransit completed more than 1 million trips, a testament to the importance of paratransit and the consistent quality of service of our team that our team is providing. We talked about the customer service facts first and being able to maintain that time on time for over 1 million trips, the first time ever. Our main objective at New York City Transit is to provide safe and reliable service on every note to our riders, and paratransit continues to deliver on this promise. Turning to ridership now, weekday paid ridership for subways was 4.16 million, with ridership on the weekend hitting 5 million. Subways broke a few post-pandemic records as well. For the 7-day period from Tuesday, October 28th to Monday, November 3rd, day of week post-pandemic highs were set for 6 of the 7 days, with only Thursday the 30th failing to set a Thursday high, and that's the day we had the major storm. Especially notable among those days was a single post-pandemic high which was set on Wednesday, October the 29th, with 4.6 million riders. The New York City Marathon drove a new post-pandemic Sunday high with 2.83 million, which I'll add is 98% of the equivalent day in 2019. For our buses, we had an average of 1.38 million weekday riders and 1.6 million weekend riders. And like I said earlier, paratransit had an incredible month. We talked about the month numbers, but for the ridership, with an average of 51,000 weekday riders and delivered 1.1 million trips, this is a real testament to the idea that if you deliver great service, riders will take it. That concludes my update for this meeting. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question. Can you put that slide, the last slide, back up? I'm confused. So average weekday paid ridership, 4.16 million? Is that what that number is?
Weekday paid ridership, yes.
Average. It's an average?
Yes.
Okay. Is weekend really over 5 million on average? I think that might be an error.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. Okay. Just a check on that one. But we'll get back to it. Midori Valdivia, followed by Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Demetrius. I will also bring this up in the Capital Committee. First, kudos to all of the great work you're doing. I'm interested, I have a particular question about the Prospect Park Station on the B&Q line. It was posted recently that there's going to be elevator outages there for a year. Obviously, this ADA replacements projects are really important, but I've already received complaints about these elevators that are going to be offline for maybe about a year. And I know the Church Avenue elevators, the station, I think right beforehand, took also a very long time because they were sequential. way to do these elevators. So again, I will also address this in capital, but while we're doing elevator replacements, I guess my question is, why can't they be done faster? Families can't wait for accessibility at this station. And what is really possible in terms of providing some limited elevator service while the construction is happening? I'm not sure. I defer to the experts. But I do want to request statistics on the timeline for contract issuances and commissioning, that timeline in between for New York City Transit ADA elevator projects. I think it's really important for the board to understand how long these are taking. We have seen so many great openings of elevators, but we know that it comes at a little bit of a burden and inconvenience to folks. So we'd just love to know more about the timeline. I will also address this in Capital Committee, so thank you.
Thanks, Midori. So, Chair, sorry, before I address Midori, that number, 5.05 million, is Saturday and Sunday combined. Yeah. So I will pass on your comments, Midori, to Jamie. I will say that Jamie and his team, we've been meeting with his team at a minimum monthly, but sometimes bi-weekly, to see how we could speed up a lot of the capital projects. And accessibility is at the top of the list. We recognize how important it is for our riders, and in providing everyone with the same additional service that they're able that they could take the same service across the system. Jamie has been laser focused on doing things cheaper and getting it done quicker. And so I could say that is without question one of the focuses that they've been doing, recognizing the impact to the community. So I'll share this with him so he can speak further with you.
And if we are doing things faster, then we should boast about it by providing the statistics on how quickly we are doing these elevator replacements. But specifically from contract issuance, or maybe it's notice to proceed to commissioning, and how long it takes to get into service. Thank you.
Mr. Albert.
Thanks, Demetrius, for the report. I'm a fan of the F&M swap, and I think it's going to work terrifically, but I'm wondering, will there be clear, adequate signage in all affected stations when the last F will be utilizing the 53rd Street tube and the last M, the 63rd Street tube, and when it'll go back to the reverse? Because I think, if you can put that on the electronic billboards, I think that will really help riders.
So we absolutely will have. We talked a little bit about the signage that's going to go up on social media, but having, in this case, because it's such a big change, we know a lot of rail fans are excited about it, but some of the day-to-day riders may not necessarily know. So we're actually going to put boots on the ground so they can address customers directly with their concerns. Folks will have the schedule. Employees will have the schedule in hand so they can discuss direct issues with the schedule questions you may get with the schedule. So we'll definitely look into making sure that the times are available to customers.
And the electronic maps, will they switch when the service switches? I mean, this is a great reason to have real-time maps in the stations, obviously.
So the electronic maps are already, I think they're already finalized. I mean, Shanifa's team is like lightning fast on this stuff.
Terrific. Thank you.
Mr. Brinkman.
Just to follow up on Midori's about the elevators. I know replacements and new elevators, that falls under Jamie's purview. Routine maintenance and then repair of elevators that break down. Who's responsible for that? Is that Jamie's crew, or do you have a particular elevator?
So we maintain all of the elevators and escalators that are New York City Transit. There's a portion that's owned by some of the hotels, building owners, and things like that. But the majority we own. Some of the new contracts that are coming on are actually maintained by contractors as part of the project being let out. But we take over ownership. And in terms of the numbers, fantastic stats. New York City Transit availability for our elevators is at 98.2%. So I'm glad that you asked. For private lines, is at 93%. But overall, availability is at 97.6%, and that includes scheduled outages of equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else wishing to be heard? Questions for Demetrius? Okay. We do have Chief Galata here with us. And something we always think about in connection with New York City Transit is how are we doing on the crime stats? And our partners at the NYPD who patrol the system are here to share with us the stats and the news for the month. Chief Galata.
Chief, Chairman Lieber, thank you very much. I just want to start off by saying I want to thank everyone here for their support. It's been tremendous in keeping riders safe. The partnership is probably as strong as any partnership that the police department has. Demetrius, you and your team, Joe Nugent, Mike Kemper, Gabby Saliber. I mean, it's a flawless team that's been put together that works so good, and I think we're fully seeing the results of that team working together. You have before you the crime figures for the month of October. Last month, the subway system saw 155 major crimes, which reflects a 13.9 reduction when compared to last October. This reduction is largely driven by a decrease in both robberies and grand larcenies. What's important about these numbers, they're not just numbers. Those are crime victims, and more importantly than them being crime victims, these are some of the lowest numbers ever recorded in the subway system, and I think that's got to be noted. This has been an incredible year in the subway system so far, and I think we're on par to finish one of the strongest years in recorded history. Looking at the year as a whole, from January through the end of October, the subway system has seen a 4.2 reduction in crime from 1,828 incidents last year down to 1,751 incidents this year. For me, this is simple. The credit always goes to our cops. I mean, they do an incredible job down there, day in and day out. The investment from the governor, from the mayor, from the police commissioner into the subway system has been remarkable. And I have to thank all of them for that support because what we're able to put together is a safer subway system for all riders. And though these numbers are very important, without a doubt, it's a great reduction. It's do people feel safe in the subway system? And that's always my bellwether. And when I go down the subway system, we're seeing it. And more importantly, I get text messages, emails all the time from people in this room and from family members telling me, hey, we've seen it got better. An MTA worker that is my neighbor, that's been my neighbor for years, he just retired from the MTA, and I was speaking to him at a wake recently. And he says, I got to tell you, he says, I've seen a difference in the last year in the subway system. He was at 14th Street Complex. He was there for 30-something years as an MTA worker. So that's the feedback that means the most to me. It's not necessarily the numbers, though they are good. It's when I get the feedback from my niece who takes the subway every single day. Those are the pieces for me that matter. That's what I care about, is when I hear from my family members, oh my God, we've seen it get better. So that didn't happen alone. That didn't happen just to NYPD. That is the investment that everyone in this room has put into the subway system and making ridership safe. So I want to thank everyone here and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Chief, I just want to echo, right back at you. The partnership has been incredible. I'm looking at Michael Kemper, who is a longtime colleague of yours and has made this partnership between NYPD and the MTA security apparatus and the MTA PD really a priority and a success story. I just want to underscore a couple things that Chief Galata said for the board, so this doesn't go unnoticed. We're down, four, close to 5% for the year. We just had the best October that anyone can remember. You'll have to go over the stats again, but this is an extraordinary month that the chief is here to report on. And we're down, 14% versus pre-COVID? I mean, those are amazing, amazing numbers. And the other point is, I'm thrilled to hear about Chief Galata's niece being so happy, but I'll tell you what really hits home for us at the MTA is when we do rider surveys. And the rider surveys are telling us that people feel much safer on the system. They always want to see more cops. When you frame that question, do you think the number of cops on the system is too many, about right, or too few? We always get a lot of too fews. But the public is feeling much safer based on all the customer surveys that we do, and we do, customer surveys at the rate of 100,000, always including members of Chief Galata's family, of course. So these are amazing numbers, amazing, amazing numbers. And I just want to, take pause and give a big tip of the hat to Chief Galata and his team at NYPD and Commissioner Tisch. Anyone who's got alerts on their phone knows that she has agreed now, apparently, to continue serving as the police commissioner. And that means continuity in this incredible partnership that we have established. So I just want to take the moment to give a special debt of thanks to the chief and to his team and to all the men and women who police the subway for us. And I would ask for a round of applause for them.
Thank you very much, sir. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, Mr. Albert.
Thank you for those great numbers, Chief. Is it your opinion that the rising tide of ridership has also helped eliminate some of the crime that is taking place? More riders on board means less opportunity to do some of the crap that was going on?
I'm not sure that I would agree with that. I think that the bigger ridership, we would see an increase in crime because it's so crowded, especially with pickpockets, and we haven't seen that. We've really invested heavily in putting teams in place in the right places, especially when we see trains where we know there's going to be increased ridership, because that would open the opportunity for a lot of the pickpockets and the hand snatches. So I think what's happened is our deployment down to the platforms and the trains have been a big investment that we put in there. Putting more police officers riding the train has been a great asset. So I think some of our change in deployment has helped tremendously, and we've seen a shift where some of our crime has moved from the platform of the train up to the mezzanine and up to the unpaid areas. So I think more so would be our deployment, but having the ridership, that gives me a great sense of pride to see that we're able to accomplish this even with the increased ridership and increased amount of people taking the train.
And one point that needs to be underscored is that rising ridership and crime, well, there's a stat that has been kept since the NYPD started keeping subway crime stats, and it's crime per million riders. And it's now reached a point where I think it is the lowest it's been, except for the COVID era when everything went crazy in terms of numbers. But I think we have close to the lowest number ever on crimes per million riders, if I'm not mistaken, Chief. So that is an indicia of what you're saying, Andrew, which is safer population, good stuff.
Yeah, can I just ask one further thing? Does the staffing of police officers on overnight trains, has that really helped boost ridership during that period of time?
I can't speak to ridership numbers at overnight, but I can tell you that the shift in our overnight strategies from a cop on every train, which was the start to it, to now we're inspecting every train, especially on the weekends, making sure we're getting on those trains, taking looks, see what's going on. Going as far as, if waking sleeping passengers, because we know they become victims of crimes when they're on there. And some people, we wake them, they miss their stops. So I think the overnight, our strategy has been evolving straight through, but I think it's definitely helped. We've seen lush worker, which is when someone's sleeping and they become a victim of crime, reduced tremendously on the overnight. And that's been part of the strategy that was really a focus of ours, and we've seen a decrease in crime.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And again, thank you, Chief, for joining us at these monthly board meetings and for the good news that you and your team continue to bring us. Okay, I think there is a procurement package that we need to do for New York City Transit, if I'm not mistaken. Is Mr. Montanti in the house?
I'm going to take the lead on that one.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Lizette, Camilla.
Great, thank you. The New York City Transit procurement package includes 3 items this month. The first item is a request that the board declare a competitive selection process inappropriate due to the existence of a single responsible source and approve the award of a 5-year non-competitive miscellaneous service contract to Clever Devices, Ltd., to provide software maintenance and support services for the Intelligent Vehicle Network System, which is installed on the entire bus fleet. Under this contract, Clever Devices will continue to provide software maintenance, system configuration and optimization services, as well as field and hardware support services. In addition, the vendor will provide software development and maintenance services to support the software and hardware deployed as part of the new bus radio system. The total estimated amount of this contract is $40.2 million. The second item is a request that the board formally ratify the declaration of an immediate operating need and approve the award of an estimated quantity contract awarded to Standard Steel LLC for the procurement of 3,000 subway car wheels. During 2024, subway cars operating out of certain locations were experiencing accelerated wheel wear. While steps have been taken to mitigate this issue, the need for wheels increased, and procurement reached out to both of its contracted vendors to see if either could provide additional wheels on short notice. Standard Steel was the only existing vendor who advised that it has the capacity to deliver 3,000 wheels to New York City Transit out of its facility in Burnham, Pennsylvania, starting 90 days after receipt of a purchase order. A non-competitive 6-month estimated quantity contract guaranteeing 3,000 wheels was awarded to Standard Steel in July 2025, and the total estimated amount of this contract is $7.4 million. Deliveries commenced in October 25 and will continue through December 2025. I'll turn it over to my colleague Tim Mulligan, who will introduce the third item.
Before we do, Demetrius, can you take the occasion to update the board on the wheel wear issue and how you have addressed it? Because this was a big problem in terms of our ability to provide service in some of the systems. Yeah.
Sure thing. So we started getting an unusual wear pattern on many of the wheels. It was wearing out faster than what we had anticipated over the years. And we started looking at the wheel rail to wheel adhesion rate. Had a consultant come on board to give us some pointers on determining what curves in the system were causing more wear. So we looked at some of the locations and just a small adjustment to the speed in those particular curves where you were going around a curve, going a lot more faster, slowing it down just, in some instances 5 miles, reduced the wheel wear in those circumstances. So since that time, since we made that modification, wheel wear has resumed back to where it was previously. And so the team, was able to not only do repairs, they stepped up their repair game and doing truing the wheels within the shop and replacing the wheels. So they stepped up their game there, but were able to continue to maintain service on a daily basis while doing so. And it really was a lot of work, great work by the team to be able to maintain the service while at the same time facing a very, very challenging issue.
But ironically, the reason we were picking up speed on the E-train on the Queens Boulevard line is new signals, right? I mean, that was allowing us to increase speeds, and we're still getting a benefit of an increased speed pattern on the Queens Boulevard line now that we have fully installed the new signals. Am I saying this correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. This was more of a drama because in order to maintain service, the full complement of service, Transit had to move fleet around a fair amount during this period. So that is why these new wheels are really an important piece of the equation for us. So a little more detail than some members of the board may have wanted, but there you go. It's important. Mr. Mulligan's going to handle a third item. Mr. Mulligan.
The final item is a request that the board approve an award for the option for the purchase of 219 40-foot buses. That's 161 diesel electric hybrid buses and 58 clean diesel buses from New Flyer of America Incorporated for the total estimated amount of $257.6 million. The base contract was awarded through a competitive RFP. These buses will replace buses that are beyond their 12-year service life and will be assigned to depots in Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island and are necessary to support the network redesigns. New Flyer will deliver 58 clean diesels starting in the fourth quarter of 2026 and conclude in the first quarter of 27. 161 hybrid bus will be delivered in the second quarter of 2027, concluding in the fourth quarter of 2028. New Flyer is committed to meeting the New York State content of 10.5% on the 161 hybrid buses and 11.5% on the 58 clean diesel buses. I would also like to note that this option award marks a restoration of the relationship between New Flyer and their propulsion-based sub-supplier for hybrid buses, BAE, which is New York State-based. They employ over 1,000 employees in Endicott, New York. We submit these procurements for the board's approval.
Mr. Albert.
Yeah, Tim, I thought I had heard in many previous reports that we were moving away from diesel buses and going to the all-electric. Why are we still buying diesels?
Well, we have a very big fleet, and to get to that transition point, right, it still requires us to replace some clean diesels. I'd also note that, I don't think we've done a great story of telling about the improvement of the latest diesel technology and how clean it is from an emission standpoint. I think we're also going to talk about in subsequent gatherings the challenges we've faced in the battery electric bus marketplace in terms of the maturity of the technology when it comes to reliability, right? We want to run the cleanest buses possible, but we need to have buses that are reliable and in service and can deliver our passengers where they want to go, and we can't compromise on reliability. And we're not totally there yet in the battery electric bus market.
Any further, Mr. Mack?
It should be noted that most hybrid electric, whether it's diesel or gas, is electric to 40 miles an hour. In New York City, the speed limit is 25.
Interesting point. Okay. I think that is all of the, we have those three procurements. Can I take a motion from, we should be heard? Ms.
Yes,
Miller.
please. I'm sorry.
Board
Before you
Member
have, I
Miller.
have a question just regarding the wheel replacement. I just want to make sure as we go into this next procurement, and I understand the need for replacement of the wheels of the train cars, that the deficiency was because of how we were using the wheels, not necessarily the quality of the wheels.
No, well, we actually did a steel metallurgy, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, evaluation of prior wheels as well as the wheels that we had, and we determined that it wasn't an actual issue with the wheels. We actually looked at the specific curvature of the tracks itself. Again, we brought in a consultant that looked at where the wheel wear was actually taking place, and it was specifically at certain curves on the system.
Okay. With that clarification, Mr. Leathers.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask Demetrius, how aggressive is the rail grinding program that addresses the profiles on the rails?
Very. It's something that we've endorsed now for, I would say, at least 7 or 8 years now. It is, something that we strongly agree with. This case was definitely not that. When we first started, the problem first, came up, we started noting that we were doing a lot of wheels, cutting a lot of wheels, grinding a lot of wheels more than we had been. And so we looked for every different scenario, whether or not we had changed our processes, our procedures, had we changed different vendors, had we looked at have we increased the speeds on certain car concepts. So we looked under every rock and, found the culprit when we did it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more metallurgical questions? Okay. If not hearing any, I will entertain a motion for the approval of these three. Thank you, Mr. Fleischer. Second, Dr. Rizzo. There are three procurements on the table for board's approval. All in favor? Any oppositions or abstention? The items are carried, at least from a committee standpoint, forward to the board meeting, correct? Okay. Onward to the capital program committee, and we're going to hear from Jamie Torres-Springer.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. No changes to the work plan, Chair. And we'll get into our report. You see, board members will see here, pictured here, installation of a temporary platform at Metro North's Bronx Botanical Garden Station. This is part of our 3 Bronx Stations ADA project. You'll be hearing from our Railroads Business Unit today, which oversees capital delivery for Metro North and Long Island Railroad, but this is a great innovation we're going to talk about a little more in a few minutes. And sticking with the railroads for a minute, we celebrated 2 milestones on Long Island Railroad. ADA Package 1 including the newly accessible St. Albans station, which was delivered 2 months ahead of schedule and on budget. Also a new replacement elevator at Auburndale Station, which was also early and delivered under budget. We had a great event celebrating the St. Albans ADA accessibility. Very glad to have Board Member Miller join us. You can see pictured with her hat at the far right, which has become a little famous in Long Island Railroad circles. So this follows the completion of 4 newly accessible stations on the Babylon branch last year, with even more to come by year's end, which Anthony is going to talk about in a minute. Late last month, we also celebrated the completion of a station improvement effort at Grand Central Subway Station, a 5-year program that was completed $46.5 million under budget. That's $46.5 million under budget. The program improves passenger flow and makes the transit hub more accessible for the 400,000 daily riders passing through the complex. The project increased overall circulation space by 20%. One of the ways we did that is by blasting through bedrock in Midtown at the corner of 42nd and Lex to create a brand new passageway for the 7 line. Of course, I can't help but remind the board and the public that we did with our Sandhog colleagues. We had a priest there to bless that new tunnel, which you see at top left as part of this project. That created a brand new passageway for the 7, and we added 14 brand new staircases. This was also a massive state of good repair undertaking. We replaced 10 escalators, 4 elevators, repaired more than 3,000 square feet of concrete, and replaced 35,000 square feet of floor tiles. We were able to bring this project in under budget thanks to utilizing design build, and lots of credit to the chair and his tenure at C&D, structuring this as a consolidated program that allowed us to better utilize in-house resources and plan service outages. So big celebration at Grand Central. C&D's elevator replacement program continues to bring the system up to a state of good repair. We recently opened 5 new elevators, 2 at 74th Street, 74 Broadway Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue complex, serving the 7E, F, M, and R in Queens, and 3 elevators at Fordham Road, 4 station in the Bronx. In total, we've now completed replacement of 31 elevators so far this year, and there's even more to come. Working very closely with our colleagues at Subways to get a very large number of new replacement elevators signed off before the end of the year. And I want to note, I told there was a question earlier. Overall, we have reduced the time to replace elevators by about 3 months in the last couple of years. So we're down to 8 months total time to replacement. Of course, that's a long time for an elevator to be out, and we're getting better at sequencing those and ensuring that that there's adequate service in place. But we're getting that done as fast as we can, and having shaved off a significant amount of time, we're going to keep working at it. But this is very complex equipment that's getting built within the system, and we're getting it done better, faster, and cheaper, as we say. And I also want to note with the governor this month, we announced weekday service increases on the A and the L. All credit to Demetrius on that, but I do want to note that the improvement is enabled in part by the MTA's capital program. Between 2020 and 2022, we significantly increased traction power along the L with the addition of 3 new substations. These additions bring more power and, importantly, redundancy to these lines, which sets the stage for operational improvements like this. So that's why the board will recall we have about $3 billion allocated to traction power systems in the 25 to 29 plan to continue to make both state of good repair improvements and to enable capacity and redundancy. With that, I want to pass things along to Anthony Tufano. And just to remind the board, Anthony is the head of our combined railroad business unit, which is accomplishing so much by taking a common approach to doing capital support and investment in both Metro North and Long Island Railroad. And just, I don't know if you were going to introduce them, but we have the folks behind us who run the big, who do all the work and run the big program. Andrew Wilson, who runs the Long Island Railroad program, Ziona Rubin, who runs the Metro North program, and Bob Laga is also here, who's the head of our Grand Central Artery program, which we really look at as a separate program underneath the Metro North Business Unit, given how much work we're getting done. Pass it along to Anthony.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Good morning, Chair and committee members. Yeah, just like Jamie said, just to remind everyone, we created the Railroads Business Unit in '23, integrating both Long Island Railroad and Metro North's capital program. By working together as one unit, we've been able to grow our expertise, share best practices, and unify our standards across both railroads. This adds up to better, cheaper, faster project delivery, which you're going to hear over the next couple of slides when I update the projects. As far as commitments go, for 2000, oh, sorry. We'll get there. It's tough to move this in this same time. So for 2025, we had $303 million in commitments with $526 million left to, that's in procurement. Now we're working very hard to get them out the door. We had a slight pause while we were waiting for the program to be approved, but now that it's fully approved, we're ready to go, and we're going to move along very aggressively. As far as completions go, we had $583 million in completions, with 346 remaining that we're going to complete by the end of the year, bringing us to $930 million, which is a big number for us. Pretty good. Webster Avenue Bridge, I'd like to highlight, we brought that in 4 months ahead of schedule and $7.3 million under budget, limiting the impact to the railroad operations and our customers and the community. Great job by the team. Looking at the program now, the program is $14 billion has been allocated to the railroads, this program. $11 billion to projects alone. That's more than double than we've seen in the past. The program is going to make 6 more stations ADA accessible, rehabilitate or replace 50 bridges, replace up to 10 substations, and there's $800 million allocated to Metro North's Hudson Line for stormwater and coastal flooding protection. It's a big program. We're ready to deliver it. Talking about the artery, like Jamie said, the artery stretches from Park Avenue Viaduct through Grand Central Terminal. 98% of all trains, all Metro North trains go through there. It's vital infrastructure that needs to be protected. $1 billion have been allocated to Park Avenue Viaduct and Train Shed Sector 1 over the last program. We're adding $1.7 billion more to this effort. As Jamie said, we're treating this as a mega project under one project executive, Bob Laga, sitting behind me. He brings great expertise. We're real happy to have him. We have a lot of work to do. There's over 20 capital projects intertwined. We need to manage this with one integrated schedule, managing the resources, outages, utility outages as one, and we're very confident Bob's going to be able to do that. Moving on to the projects, Train Shed Sector 1 replacement. We're pretty much done with this. 65,000 square feet of roof repair on 47th and 48th Street with partnership with J.P. Morgan Chase. The last small area to complete is where the tower crane is still erected, building their world headquarters. That's supposed to come down mid-26, so we're projecting a completion late 26. We're under budget on the project, and we're on schedule. And hopefully we'll have some more news to share soon on how we're going to continue that effort. Park Avenue Viaduct. I mean, what more can be said about this project? Since the last update, we finished Phase 1 completely in October, full superstructure replacement. In addition to that, we finished the substructure in June of Phase 2, piggybacking Track 4 and 2 bridge replacements with Phase 1. Against our plan, $93 million in savings, 51 months ahead of schedule. This can't be done without great partnership with our design builder, partnership from the agency in resources and outages, and a strong project management team pushing every day, working round the clock. We haven't delayed one train during this effort. It's truly our poster project and a model for all the projects in the railroad business unit. Often we talk about the innovation of the bridge replacements and the gantries we have. We want to point out one simple innovation that we added to this project through a rule change with Metro North. We put an inter-track barrier between the tracks. What this afforded us was continued work round the clock on weekends. Whoops, I got to go back. Banging my hand too much, Jamie. So What that does is normally a train would pass on the adjacent track, all work would stop. This allows us to continue. It also adds to protection of the workers on the side of the fence we're working, and it limits the force count resources needed. We need them all over the place, so limiting them is great. We added this at other projects, including the 3 Bronx Stations ADA project, and we're up to $48 million and counting for this simple, innovative approach. We're going to look to use this across the railroads projects on Metro North, and it'll bring more rewards to us. ADA station package, 3 Bronx stations. Jamie touched on it a little bit. We're simultaneously building all 3 stations at once. This is more than just ADA. It's full station rehabilitations. You see the separation barrier in those 3 pictures on the screen. They're working behind them round the clock. Working with Metro North, we have a 32-week outage for each side. We're in phase 1 now. We're moving along on schedule. We're going to flip sides in February. Most of the cross-track utility relocations were done already in phase 1. With lessons learned, we're pretty confident we're going to bring this one even in ahead of schedule. But right now, we're on schedule and on budget to deliver this project. Very well needed. They were in disrepair. This is a great project. We're happy to see it moving forward. Moving over to the railroad program now, 98% and 91% and counting, all railroad stations compliant. 91% are compliant right now. With the introduction of ADA Package 1 and 2, we're going to get to 94% when we're complete. We're touching 12 stations. 9 are going to get accessibility for the first time. Package 1, we opened 7 stations. St. Albans last week, as Jamie said. It's a $500 million investment, 12 stations, all centered around ADA. But ADA 2, I want to say, is much more than ADA. These are full station rehabilitations. That's Babylon before and after. We had a heavy, aggressive milestone last year. 2 12-car platforms, major transfer point for the railroad point stations east of Babylon. We had to complete and open 12 cars by Memorial Day, and we did it right under the wire. I'm happy to say, with lessons learned, we're 2 months ahead of progress at this point, building float in the schedule to give Rob those 12 cars back for the summer service. We're confident we're going to do it. The job's going well. We're getting great support from Long Island Railroad Force Account. We couldn't do it without them here. Important project. I'd like to touch on Hollis and Forest Hills. They were paused for congestion pricing, but the minute we got going again, we are flying out there. Again, great support, outages, working behind construction barriers, and the projects are moving along great. We forecast that to be done on budget by 2027. One thing I'd like to point out on ADA Package 1, when we were doing the ADA upgrades and adding the new elevator tower and escalator, there was so much deteriorated steel and spalling concrete. We couldn't walk away from it. So within the project budget and schedule, we touched 29,000 square feet of steel and concrete spall repair. If you look at the pictures before and after, you're going to be amazed. We're going to open this project, take the barriers down in December. People are not going to believe their eyes. Tremendous project. We used the contractor. He was performing well. We had to continue the effort and do this vital state of good repair work. Hats off to the project team. They're doing a great job out there. Last project, hall expansion. I just want to touch on JCI before I get into the hall expansion project. JCI, over several programs, is going to decrease that Jamaica crawl and add up to 3 minutes of savings migrating through Jamaica, upgrading to modern switches and modern systems. Obviously, that's a long-term project, but hall expansion is going to create 2 new parallel routes through Jamaica. We had to build a 280-foot bridge, and last time I was here, I said this is all about logistics. 11 tracks, tough access, tough to get to those tracks. How did we do it? We're going to show you a short time-lapse video of how that happened. All the material has to come in on work trains. We erected 2 gantries, put them on rails because we didn't have the real estate to build a 280-foot bridge. The box girders came in on work trains. We assembled them, bolted them in this small, tight area as you see the trains going by. Once we got to a point we had no more room, we started jacking it. Innovative method, bridge jacking, never used on our property before. We jacked the bridge over live railroad. We didn't cause any delays during this project. Coordinating with the Long Island Railroad, we're meeting substantial completion on the contract this month. We'll turn it over to the Long Island Railroad forces. They'll They'll commission the route by next year to decrease conflicts going through Hall interlocking. I'm happy to say we found out last week this project won an ACEC Diamond Award. Unbelievable. This is what Design Build brings to us. Great project, great team. I'll turn it over to IEC for their report now and take any questions.
If I just make one wrap-up point, if I don't make it, I know you will, which is, just taking a step back, looking at the hundreds of millions of dollars of investment that we're making on the two busiest railroads in the country. A video like that, apart from the construction work, is the trains whizzing by. It's 16 trains an hour. It's more. It's way more than 16 trains an hour. And this team is getting it done with the contractors in design build, with force account support, the labor support from the railroads. We're getting it done safely, on time, under budget. That's what we can do. And so, just when you look at another stretch of railroad where we're not getting as much work done because we're constrained by outside forces, and people are saying that it's somehow because of this team and these contractors, we take it very personally because we're demonstrating that we can get the work done.
I just want to underscore that because we went at great length, and some of the board members felt even maybe too much about what was going on with Penn Access last month. Just do not forget the key benchmark, which is on the Park Avenue Viaduct, same contractor, $90 million under budget. Third track, overseen by this guy, same guy, Anthony Tefano, $100 million under budget and on schedule. Same contractor, Halmar. Penn Access, same contractor, Halmar. Schedule problems. We all talked about what Amtrak did. That's the difference among those projects, is that we are subject to all of these Amtrak controls that make it impossible to get work done. And that's why we're making a big issue of it. I want to say one other thing about this issue on Penn Access. This is not about fighting with Amtrak. This is about accountability. This team came in on the heels of East Side Access, looking at my friend Mr. Leathers and many of you who were part of the Long Island Railroad and seeing us try to create the connection to Grand Central. That was a moment of disappointment. This team dragged it over the finish line, but that project was a disappointment, and it was a stain on the reputation of the MTA. In fact, all of us who work in public infrastructure, right, Mark? East Side Access. People still use that as a euphemism for projects not getting done on time and on budget, right? And we said, no, we're going to change things, and we have. You've heard some of that today. But what's most important is that we subject ourselves, and hopefully the board feels it, to accountability. And we come through this committee that we're participating in right now, Capital Program Committee, every month and talk about every piece of the capital program, where we are, is it on time and on budget? And then we hear from the IEC, the independent engineering consultant, who gives us a second opinion. Make sure that we're not just putting the shine on all the board and the public. There is no equivalent process for Amtrak, zero. There's no public airing of where they are on budgets and schedules. So while, we're going to continue to hear from them that somehow our disappointment with the performance of Penn Access is because, I don't know, we have emotional problems or something, that what we're saying is we're not interested in fighting with anybody. We just want a culture of accountability to prevail in all of these mega projects. And we cannot allow mega projects to go off the rails without a collective sense of accountability. That's what that discussion's about. It's about preserving the progress that's been made in accountability for mega project budget and schedule, period, end, okay? So I couldn't let the moment pass without interjecting, because the comparison is really sharp. Same contractor, same oversight team, different outcomes between those three projects. Jamie.
Over to the IEC.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Today I'm presenting the IEC's review of 6 railroad projects. Our reports can be found in the committee book. We begin with an update on our 3 monitored Metro North Railroad projects. Since our last report, the Grand Central Terminal Train Shed Sector 1 project is 93% complete, on budget and ahead of schedule. There has been effective collaboration between the MTA and JP Morgan Chase project teams, which continues to drive progress. The project team coordinated with New York City DOT to secure full road closure permits, which has contributed to an accelerated schedule and keeping the project within budget. Next is the Park Avenue Viaduct Replacement Project. The project is 70% complete and is on budget and schedule. All Phase 1 bridge replacement outages and 9 outages for Phase 2 have been successfully completed to date without disruption to train operations. The project management team successfully executed work for both phases concurrently, maximizing productivity while maintaining the project schedule and adhering to budget constraints. For our final Metro North project update, this is our first report on the ADA improvements at 3 Bronx stations. The project is within budget and on schedule, targeting completion in May 2027. The first of the 2 track outage construction phases have begun. The project team is addressing a few initial challenges, including coordination issues with outside agencies and limited construction progress due to aggressive design and material procurement schedules. Continued design builder coordination and support from the MTA compliance groups will be essential to keep the project on schedule. Additionally, the IEC recognizes C&D's efforts to prepare for track outages while maintaining on-schedule rail operations with no service interruptions. The IEC is reporting on 3 LIRR projects today. ADA Package 1 is 94% complete. The project is on budget and on schedule to achieve substantial completion in December 2025. Several mitigations undertaken by the project team successfully addressed construction challenges. They proactively resequenced work activities to minimize the impact of lead abatement, and they utilized available in-stock materials to avoid supply chain delivery issues. The IEC recommends capturing these and other successful mitigations in LIRR's Lessons Learned database. Regarding ADA Package 2, progress has been impacted by the temporary construction pause, which was lifted in February 2025. The project is 39% complete, with 60% of the scheduled duration elapsed. The IEC raises concern that the impacts from the 8-month construction work pause at Forest Hills and Hollis stations will delay completion at these 2 stations to December 2027. Potential mitigations and any change orders issued from the work pause are currently under negotiation. The project is on budget, and despite the work stoppage and schedule delay, the IEC forecasts the project will finish within budget by using project contingency. Construction activities at Babylon Station proceeded on schedule, and station accessibility improvements remain on target for December 2026. Lastly, Jamaica Capacity Improvements Phase 2 Hall Interlocking. The project is 76% complete and within budget. The schedule has been impacted by steel fabrication problems, which has extended the design builder's forecast completion date by 2 months to November 2025. The project team was proactive in identifying conflicts with other projects early on, securing necessary track outages, and ensuring availability of force account support to reach overall substantial completion in June 2026. In conclusion, the Railroads Business Unit projects are progressing well. Mr. Chairman, this concludes our review of the railroad projects monitored by the IEC.
Okay. Yeah. Can we just take advantage of the fact, Rob, would you just explain a little bit how JCI will help operationally? I just want to make sure the board understands. This is a project that's been around for, 20 plus years? It kept getting pulled, cut out of the capital program again and again, but we push forward on it because it really does have some operational significant benefits. Rob, would you explain that to the board?
Well, I think all these projects that we're talking about are probably in our most challenging locations. Babylon, one of our busiest branches, Jamaica, we've talked about it many times. What you have is 11 branches converging in on one location. It's our busiest terminal, a lot of trains movements there, and what slows it down dramatically is our inability to move trains simultaneously, meaning they're waiting for other trains to cross in front of each other. With this phase of the JCI project will allow trains off the Montauk branch, to and from the Montauk branch, to basically have a straight route into the station without impacting mainline train movements. That is vital. We talked about Jamaica on-time performance, and we've drastically improved that. We're on the eastbound side, we're right at a goal regularly. On the AM, we're just about there. This will make a dramatic improvement to that flow and increase capacity. Right? With the inability to move trains at the same time, there's only so many train movements that can take place. Though this will allow us in the future to increase our train movements and increase ridership and bring more service to the railroad. And as Anthony had touched on, increase speeds, because what we have is a lot of switches in a small location right up to the station. So as we progress through this project, we'll be able to put higher speed crossover switches further away from the station, that will increase our speeds. So it's really, our operation lives and dies by Jamaica. So this really is a game changer as we progress through this project. It'll really bring tremendous reliability to our service.
All right, just Andrew.
This is for you, Jamie. I would never have thought of this today, but since one of your slides showed the Livonia Avenue L train station, I'm wondering, since we've been talking about it for over 3 years, do you have an estimated completion date for the Livonia Junius complex?
I'll have to get it to you. Too many stations rattling around in my head, but we're making good progress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Bringerman.
Yes, this one's for Anthony. Do we have an open line of communication with Nassau County? Last month, there was a scathing article, I think in the New York Post, about certain stations weren't being maintained properly. One of the stations that was mentioned was Valley Stream. If you looked at the before photo that you showed, yeah, she'd have a very valid complaint. I think it was Ms. Phillips as the controller. I'm wondering, did she get to see the after picture of what of how you've addressed that?
I'll let Rob answer this one, but they haven't seen what we've done yet because there's barricades around it, but they will see it shortly. But I'll turn it over to Rob.
I think this is a great success story, and I really want to touch on Valley Stream, because when I first was appointed to this position, I took the team out to Valley Stream specifically to look at these locations. I can't begin to tell you the amount of work. He just showed one aspect of it. We went up and even on track level and repaired joints, waterproofing. This was a great combination of force account work and third-party contractors working together, again, in one of our most difficult. You have the West Hempstead branch, you have the Valley, Far Rockaway branch, and the Long Beach branch, and the Babylon branch that operate through this location. And we've had forces there for 3 years. New elevators, new escalators, we redid the platform canopy, new roof on it, painted, the amount of lighting, everything has taken place. We actually even worked with the taxi stand there to improve their facade, to give it more appeal, to lighten up the station environment. I think it's about $36 million invested in that one station alone, and I cannot wait till the end of this year until we reveal the progress of the station.
Just be sure to invite the controller to your grand opening.
Yeah, but
when you
Mr. Bringerman, just so you know, we received the news of that so-called audit, which was not an audit, through the New York Post as well. So you get the idea that I'm not sure that was a even-handed engineering review or project analysis. It was.
And I just want to touch on the stations they identified. We have in our program, Long Beach. There'll be design work taking place. Was it Belrose and Floral Park? That's in the program. We're going out with a bid for that. And after this program, every station in Nassau County will be accessible. Never mind all the work we do to maintain the stations every single day.
And there's the peanut gallery in the form of Mr. McCarthy, wishes to be heard from.
Yeah, Mr. Bergman, we responded to the county controller on this issue with a long list of our investments in Nassau County, particularly stations that have been completely redone, including the 5 brand-new stations on the 3rd track. Ms. Phillips was the leading opponent of that project, which invested close to $3 billion in Nassau County. So I think this was probably a political audit, and that's what we said publicly, and we will supply you with the letter in response.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. C&D procurements.
Can I just break in just to update Mr. Albert? Our C&D rapid response reports that the Livonia-Junius connection should be done next year.
Mr. Leathers?
Question. What's the criteria that determines when a project is completed? We're doing a lot of work. What's your determination to show that a project is complete? And is there a final punch list?
Yeah, all of our projects have a clear set of specifications for the contractor. They go through the scope, and then we do final punch list walks with us and railroad maintenance away groups before we accept the asset and turn it over and let the contractor off the property.
Yeah, there's a standard for what we call substantial completion, and then there's the punch list that remains required to be completed before final completion is done. So that's all contractually specified. Okay. Mr. Iceland for the procurements.
Thank you, Chair. This month I'm presenting 3 procurement actions totaling $14.4 million. The first item is in the amount of $1.6 million. It's a mod to a contract with Gannett Fleming Engineers and Architects to provide structural testing and analysis of seismic integrity of 4 support buildings at the Hugh L. Carey Tunnel and the Queens Midtown Tunnel, and also construction support services for certain facade work. This mod will also extend the contract by 26 months to May of 2027 to support the additional facade work. The next item is a unilateral modification in the amount of $12.4 million to a contract with Judlow Contracting. The contract is for repairs at 5 stations on the Flushing line. This mod will compensate Judlow for the direct costs of resequencing its work, to mitigate delays and for 10 months of impact costs. The delays here arose from the extensive corrosion of the concrete encased steel girders and columns encountered during the demolition of the track bed at the 61st Street station, which was work being done by a different contractor on an adjacent contract. As a result of these unforeseen conditions and the resulting additional work on the adjacent contract, we were unable to provide the track outages as planned for this contract. So this mod will also provide for a 10-month extension to the substantial completion date to October of 2026. And then the last item is a mod to a small...
Evan, can you just remind the board what a unilateral is so everybody understands?
Sure. So a unilateral, under our contracts, we have the right to issue a one-sided change order. We usually do that either when we haven't had an opportunity to fully negotiate, or in this case, where we can't agree. The contractor thinks he's entitled to more time and more money. Strategically, we think we're in a better position to go to litigate with him if that becomes necessary by giving him what we agree he's entitled to, but no more, so that when we go to court, nobody says, well, you didn't pay the contractor. So in this case, we're giving him what we believe he's entitled to and no more. He has the right to contest it, to file a complaint or a dispute, which would go to arbitration. But in the meantime, this will resolve what we believe is the extent of his dispute. The last item I have is a ratification of a modification to a small business contract with Approved General Contractors, Inc. It's in the amount of $450,000. This mod will address unforeseen site conditions, including unanticipated underground utilities and deteriorated structural elements that required revisions to the original plan. There was some additional structural steel work that was required here. These items are described in detail in the staff summaries contained within your committee books, and I hereby submit them for your consideration and vote.
Okay. Ms. Miller.
Sure, just for a point of clarity. So the last procurement item for the small business is the small business that's currently on the project that you're doing a modification to expand the work.
Yes, they encountered some differing site conditions.
Correct.
They have more work to do. The reason this small one is being presented to the board is because it's a small contract, and the amount of the change order exceeds 10% of the original contract price. So I have an obligation to present it to you. I usually don't show you mods under $400,000, under $500,000.
Thank you.
And just to underscore, remember last month we talked about what's going on at 61st Street Woodside? This is that unilateral modification is a consequence of the discovery of all that incredibly complicated steel work that was not originally planned, correct? Okay. All right. I'll take a motion on these. Thank you, Mark Herbst. Second, Ms. Dr. Rizzo. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? Okay, these items are carried forward to a board meeting. Anything further, Mr. Torres-Springer?
Nope.
Okay. All righty. I think. Oh, approval of minutes. I don't want to deny Mr. Albert the pleasure.
These are committee minutes.
Committee meeting minutes. Okay. The final item is as Paige says, the October committee meeting minutes have been distributed to the members. Are there corrections or omissions?
Are we talking about the committee?
Committee meetings. Yeah.
Yes, under the Transit Committee, Christopher Greif's last name is misspelled.
All right. Noted, and we know the pronunciation, that's for sure. Okay, with that adjustment, the meeting minutes, if I hear no objection, the minutes are approved as corrected by Mr. Albert. So thank you, everybody, for the moment. That concludes our business, this committee portion of our board meeting. As a reminder, we're going to adjourn and then return this afternoon for the Finance Committee and for the November board meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn on that basis? Dr. Rizzo, thank you. Mark Herbst for a second. Any objection? The meeting is adjourned.